All right, so I am going to call roll. Dr. Jimmy Bowser.
Here.
Here. Thank you. Dr. John Kraft.
Good afternoon. I'm here.
Lena De La Cruz. I have not seen her come up yet, so I'll keep my eye out for her. Sydney Gaytan.
Gaytan, I'm here.
Thank you. Yes, please correct me if I say anything wrong.
It's a hard one.
Dr. Joseph Glenn. I have not seen him either. Simone Hendricks.
Present.
Captain John Mark McLean is not joining us today, but he has someone standing in for him. Heather Janes.
Yes, ma'am, I'm here.
Thank you. Colonel Easy Moore.
I'm here, glad to be here. Thank you.
Thank you. Shelly Ramos.
Here.
Dr. Bernie Roper. Did he hear? Okay. Kathy Smith.
I'm here.
And Lonnie Webster.
I'm here.
Thank you. So we are missing two people. We will continue on and I will watch for them joining.
All right, well, greetings, everybody. I'm Shelly Ramos, and I'll be introducing myself to you a little bit more formally in just a minute. But I'm gonna be running today's meeting for you. So with the assistance, of course, of Sherry, we're sitting right next to each other. So if you hear a little bit of feedback or see us looking at each other, that's all that's going on. I did want to take a moment to explain to you a little bit about our agenda before we jump in. Feedback. Can you just mute yourself? Sorry, we're trying to fix the feedback. Give us just a minute. All right. No, I don't think that fixed it.
I did that. And I did not get anything. Do you want to try talking?
Okay. Nope. Sorry about the technical issues. Okay, hopefully that solved the problem. Let us know if that did not solve it. Okay, as I was saying, I'm gonna start off with just a little bit of information about the agenda that you're seeing in front of you and that we sent out to you. So one of the things that you should be aware of is that the State Advisory Council is subject to Texas open meetings requirements. And so we have just some particular requirements that we have to make sure that we abide by. One of those is that we are required to accept public comment. And so we do not have anybody registered today for public comment. So we won't need to take time to do this particular agenda item, but you will see it on all meeting invitations and agendas in the future. We just wanted to let you know. The way we've got these meetings set up, as you know, because you logged in, is that we have done Zoom webinars. So the public is able to view the meeting from the attendee perspective. If you all recall, when you signed in a few moments ago, Sherry moved you over to panelists so that you have the ability to share your screen or share your camera, and you can speak up and everybody can hear you. Attendees only are view only. So that's the difference in that. And in the event that at a future meeting, we have members of the public who'd like to make public comments, they may certainly do so. We would invite them into the meeting as panelists for a very short period of time so that they can make their comments, and then you can ask any questions that you may have of them. And then we would put them back into the attendee room. So that's just a little bit about what to expect. You may have seen in the agenda that members of the public
Maybe that would work.
okay, sorry, we're still having some technical issues here, so I apologize for the sound. First meeting is always a little bit rocky. We'll get this squared away before our next meeting. But members of the public have to register, and they have plenty of time from the time that the posting first comes out until 12 noon on the day of the meeting. We did not, as I said, we did not receive any requests for public comment. And then they would also, there is a time limit. So members of the public who wish to submit a public comment have a 3-minute time limit. To the extent that we know who will be coming to make a public comment, we will send that to you in an updated agenda the day of future meetings. So that is just a little bit about the public comment period, or rather not a period, but the public comment aspect of your agenda. I do want to say, while this is a formal meeting, we are going to run it fairly informally. We will only revert to Robert's rules and have an official vote in the event that there is something that requires approval. So please feel free at any time if you have questions, especially given that this is an organizational meeting for us. Please feel free to either raise your hand in Zoom or come off mute and ask any questions. So at this point, if you have any questions about public comment, don't hesitate to ask. Okay. Hopefully this resolves any sound issues that we may have had with the feedback that you might have been hearing. All right, so we sent out the agenda to you, and Sherry, if we have a slide, could you go ahead and display that? So one item that we do have today that would require a vote of the council is approval of the agenda. So I will let you just take a look at the agenda for a moment, and then I will entertain a motion to approve the agenda. All right, would anybody like to make a motion to approve today's agenda?
Make a motion that the agenda be approved as written.
Thank you, Dr. Roper. Do I have a second?
Second.
Thank you, Dr. Kraft. All right, then our agenda for today is approved. We'll do a process very similar to this at all future meetings. In addition to that, at future meetings, we'll also have a short item where we approve the minutes from the previous meeting. So just to give you something, a little preview of what's to come at future meetings. Okay, so we'll move on to the next slide. And Sherry, I will let you take it over from here.
Hello. So we're really excited to get to meet y'all, and we've started already getting to know you, but you all have not been able to get to know each other. So we want to just take a minute or two with each of you to hear who you are, where you live, what you do, and a little bit about what you do, how you came to be a member of the State Advisory Council, and any expectations you might have of this role, or something you're hoping to contribute. If anybody wants to volunteer to start, you may, otherwise I'll pick somebody.
I'll be
Oh,
glad to kick us
oh,
off.
Thank you.
Sure. So again, I'm John Kraft, right here, Central Texas. I'm the superintendent of schools for Killeen Independent School District, which we serve Fort Hood. Fort Hood still remains one of the largest military installations in the continental United States. We're unique in the sense that we have 4 municipalities, but 8 of our 52 campuses actually reside on the post. We serve approximately 16,000 federally connected students. So that does make us the largest military impacted school district in the nation, actually. I've been in the district now for, this is going on my 11th year, Bernie Roper. Can you believe that? It's flown by. I'm not exactly sure how I became a member of the State Advisory Council. I think I was maybe voluntold, like probably some of you, but I'm happy to do it. As far as my expectations in my role, obviously having that kind of representation with, like I say, Fort Hood and the military student aspect, I'm always wanting to learn, but then also anything that we can do to ensure that our military connected students in particular are best served, because they go through, as you all know, a lot of transitions and a lot of different challenges that most students don't. And so, like I say, I'm really looking forward to learning, but then also anything that we can do collectively to better serve our military connected students. That's really why I'm participating. So again, thank you for having me, and I look forward to it.
Welcome, Dr. Kraft. We're glad you could be on the council.
I can
go
go
ahead.
next if nobody else wants to go. Is that okay?
Go right ahead.
Hi, Simone Hendricks. I have made El Paso my home for the last 20 some odd years. My job title is I'm with the school liaison office that serves the Fort Bliss area. So we have 10 districts with high military population. I came through the council through the Department of Defense, and I am very excited to be part of that. Through my position, I've been with the school liaison office for 11 years, and I was a military mom with students before that. So I have seen what a impact the MIC3 has on families, and I am excited to, make it known throughout the state and move it forward so that our school districts are aware of how to implement and how to assist parents and students. So that is my hope.
Welcome. We're glad you could join us.
Hi. Maybe I go next.
Sure.
Hi, my name is Lina de la Cruz. I was a military spouse for 15 years. I came through the council via MFAN. It's a military family advisory board. I served for them 2017, 2019. Still currently an alumni for them. So we meet every 2 years at DC to discuss results for military research survey. And they reach out to me to see if I would like to consider this opportunity, and obviously yes. Right now I'm a registrar at Denton ISD in Denton, Texas. My community is not that big. It's probably in my school probably we have 10 kids related with military, but like the other person in Fort Bliss, I have seen through my life as a military spouse different school district, different needs. I have a child with a special needs, so that's also important for me as a former military spouse and a mom. And I see this as another opportunity to serve the community in a different way.
Thank you, Ms. De La Cruz. We're glad that you could be here to represent the parents.
Thank you.
Thanks.
All right, everybody, I guess I'll go next. I am Colonel Easy Moore. I'm the Mission Support Group Commander here on Goodfellow Air Force Base. It's kind of like the mayor, you know, I'm in charge of all the things that make the installation go round. So I'm in charge of the operation. And as such, the school liaison falls under me, as well as the community partnership programs fall under me as well. So Ms. Teresa Goodwin is my school liaison officer, and she is responsible for all the San Angelo ISD and surrounding schools in the area in the Concho Valley. Quite honestly, this is my first opportunity to be a part of a committee like this. So I'm glad to be here, and whatever you guys need from me, just let me know. Cool.
We're glad to have you with us, Colonel Moore.
I'll tag along to that because I'm also from San Angelo. I'm Milani Webster. I'm a guidance counselor at Central High School, and I've been guidance counselor for, this will be my 24th year. And we've been, my husband and I, well, he's former military, and so we were stationed in Hawaii, and I was a counselor there as well. I have also military children, so I'm familiar with the process and would like to help any way I can.
Thank you, Ms. Webster. We appreciate you being on the council.
I can go next. Hi, everyone. My name is Sydney Gaitan. I'm the Budget and Policy Advisor for Public Education as well as some higher education for Governor Abbott. I work in Austin around the Capitol, but I live in Kyle, Texas, which is a little bit south of Austin. I was lucky enough to be asked by the governor to serve as his designee on this council, and I'm very excited about it because I've worked in the public education field for a very long time in policy, but to be able to learn more about how the education world affects these military students, because they have so many different challenges and things that they go through, constantly moving and just having to restart their lives constantly, how all of that affects them and how that affects their educational career. So I look forward to be able to work with all of y'all to see how the state, we can all work together to improve their educational careers and their outcomes.
Thank you, Ms. Gaitan. We appreciate you being here.
I'm Kathy Smith.
Go ahead.
Go ahead, Ms. Smith.
Oh, I'm Kathy Smith. I live in Montgomery County, Texas. We're north of Houston. I've been a veteran service officer for the last 16 years. Prior to that, my husband is retired military, 23 plus years. Worked with family support a lot while he was in the military and the public affairs office. Raised two military kids ourselves, so kind of have that on the parent side. I became a member of the council. Our office was contacted by Senator Crichton's office, and they, was looking for somebody in our area to be a part of the council. And because of my military and veteran experience, I got delegated I was honored to be a member of the committee. I'm excited to see what kind of changes we can implement to help military children. It's a tough role. Our daughter had to move 2 times in her senior year, so it was hard. So I'm excited to see what happens with the council. Thank you.
Thanks, Ms. Smith. We're excited about the perspective that you'll bring as well.
Yeah.
I think it's maybe safe for me to go now.
Yes, sir.
I've tried like 4 times, but that's good. My name is Bernie Roper. I live in San Antonio, Texas, and our school district, Lackland Independent School District, is located on Lackland Air Force Base. We're part of Joint Base San Antonio, which encompasses Lackland, Fort Sam, and Randolph. We are known as the gateway to the Air Force. This is where if you've ever been in the Air Force, this is where you came through for basic training. So I am starting my 14th year as superintendent here at Lackland, 32 years in education. I'm also a retired Army colonel, did 35 years in the Army, Army Reserve, that is. And of course, again, I am the superintendent. Like Dr. Kraft, I'm not sure how I became a member of the State Advisory Council. I'm assuming somebody nominated me. And again, like everyone has said, it's my honor to serve. I think it's important, especially since we deal with, here at Lackland, we deal with military connected students every day. All of our students are military connected. We're a small district in comparison to like Fort Hood, or just a little blip. But I think it's important for me to have this perspective and be able to advocate for our students, because as someone has already said, our kids go through a lot. And so we want to do everything that we can to make their stay with us, no matter how long or short that may be, and make sure we're being as fair as possible, considering their circumstances. But I'm happy to serve. Thank you.
Thank you, Dr. Roper. So yeah, just to clarify, everybody came very highly recommended. So if you're wondering why you're here, it's because folks smarter than us made a very wise recommendation to add you to the council. I think, Heather, you may be one of the last remaining non-TEA people.
Okay, my name is Heather Janes, and I'm actually the school liaison. I am sitting in for my commanding officer, Captain Mark McLean. He is the commanding officer for Naval Air Station Joint Reserve Base, Fort Worth. That's a mouthful. So we live up here in Fort Worth, Texas. He was appointed to the member of the state council by CNIC for the Navy. They felt that our area up here in Fort Worth, we had more military connected students than our counterparts down in Corpus Christi or Kingsville. And I'm not sure what his expectations are. I wasn't prepared to answer these questions for him. So I think we just really want to make sure that we're supporting the military families and the students in our area. I service over 50 school districts in the DFW area, so I am very busy all the time. But I look forward to working with everybody, as I'm sure he is as well.
Thanks, Heather. We're happy to have you join us today. And before we get started, I want to do a quick double check. The only people remaining for introductions are TEA staff. Is that correct? It looks like it.
Yes.
So Dr. Bowser, would you like to go next?
Absolutely. Thank you so much, Ms. Ramos. Hello, everyone. My name is Jimmy Bowser. I'm the Highly Mobile State Coordinator for TEA. I'm also the program military lead. So all the programs, including Purple Star, all fall within my realm here at TEA. I'm also a veteran. I served in Marine Corps Reserve and also in the Army National Guard. And so my love of this work comes through from having served in the military. I also recently was in Japan for about a year as a principal in Dodea. And so I look forward to working on this committee and with the council members here to help ease life as we can for our military connected students. You'll hear a little bit more from me later.
So we're very excited to have Dr. Bowser with us because he brings certainly a pretty wide variety of perspectives for the council. But selfishly, I'm very excited to have him as a colleague here at TEA. And then I'm going to so Sherry Messer is not officially a member of the council, but she will be providing, as you know, all of the administrative support and assistance. She's probably both like my right and my left hand person, if that's possible. So I'm going to let Sherry go ahead and introduce herself.
Hello, I'm Sherry Messer. I was a military daughter myself, so I grew up with that. I have been at TEA for a brief time. Many people here have been here very long time, lots of experienced people. I have not been here that long, but I'm really excited to get to help Shelly with the advisory council. I'm a curriculum specialist here, and so I'm part of a team that works to review and revise the Texas Essential Knowledge and Skills. So that is my specific role here. And then helping with the advisory is another piece. So thank you all. And yeah, I'll be communicating with you. So send me your thoughts and questions, and I will be on top of it. Thank you.
Thanks, Sherry. And then I'll go last. My name is Shelly Ramos. I am the Senior Director for Curriculum Standards and Student Support at TEA. And that's my day job. I'm also the Commissioner Designee for the Interstate Compact on Educational Opportunity for Military Children. I have been at TEA for, I think I'm just about to celebrate my 13th anniversary here with TEA. I have been working in one way or another, the first couple of years rather removed, but I've been working with the compact since 2011. And then I became the Commissioner Designee in 2014. And I hail from El Paso, so my family is not a military connected family directly, although I have lots of connections through cousins from Fort Bliss. So I'm very familiar, Simone, with that part of the state and with that installation. I live in Austin, and you know, I'm just very excited that we are able to get the State Advisory Council off the ground. It's taken us a little while to get it up and get all of our people in place, but now we're here, we're ready to go. And I'm just happy to be here. And if there's ever anything that we can do, that Dr. Bowser, Sherry, or I can do to help you or provide you with information, please don't hesitate to let us know. We're here to serve. All right, I am going to apologize in advance a little bit because you're probably going to get tired of hearing me talk, but this is an informational meeting or an organizational meeting, and so there is a little bit of background information to share. I'm going to go ahead and move us into our next agenda item, which is a little bit of background and information on the Military Interstate Compact for those of you who may not be very familiar with it. And so just to give you a little bit of background, and apologies for those of you who are very familiar with it. You know, I know some of our school liaisons and our school superintendents who work with it quite a bit may be very familiar with it. So as of last school year, in our most recent enrollment data, we've identified over 176,000 students in public schools in the state of Texas that are military connected. So that's a very large number of students. That is not necessarily the same number of students who are covered by the compact. As you can see at the little footnote at the bottom, only a fraction of those students are actually eligible under the compact. It's a broader category, but we are required by state law and by the federal government in the education, in ESEA, which I'm not going to be able to remember the acronym at the drop of a hat, unfortunately, but we are required to collect and report data on military connected students. And so that definition in Texas, you can see in this bulleted list, active children who are the dependents of active duty military members, Texas National Guard, U.S. Reserve, and former members of those categories as well. So veterans, individuals who are deceased or who have been discharged from the military services, and then dependents of military members who are killed in the line of duty. We also report from pre-kindergarten through 12th grade. So if you're wondering why those numbers are so disparate between the numbers that we report at the state level and the numbers that are eligible for the compact, one of those reasons is that the federal compact does not extend to pre-kindergarten. It starts with kindergarten students. So you're automatically seeing a difference in numbers because of that. In addition to that, and we'll get into some more details, there's some subsets of these groups that are eligible under the compact, and I'll talk about that in just a moment. But as you can see, based on that, based on those numbers, we have a high need. I think we've had several people talk about the fact. I think Dr. Kraft mentioned that he serves one of the largest, I think, installation in the country. So it's definitely a high demand here in the state of Texas. We are the second largest state in terms of students who are eligible under the military compact. So all the more reason why we're very excited to have a council now to advise us. On this next slide, you'll see just a timeline of what the compact is, and we'll dig into a little bit more about the compact, but I wanted you to have a little bit of context. It's not that old. It was in 2006, the Council for State Governments first began the work to establish this compact, this interstate compact. They started meeting with state, federal, and local leaders to try and come up with some language. And then they started going state by state and working with state legislatures to adopt the language, and gradually, one state at a time, all 50 states plus the District of Columbia have been members of the compact since 2014. You can see there in 2009 is when Texas joined, one of, but not the first state, but one of the first states to join the military compact. So a few things for those of you, like I said, it's perfectly understandable not to be familiar with the compact, but part of our job is to help you become familiar with the compact and think about ways in which we can improve the services that we provide to students across the state. So obviously, we mentioned to you in your invitation letter, if you're not familiar with it, the compact's primary mission is to help deal with the challenges that students from military families face as a result of their frequent relocations. And very important is that we try to offset some of the challenges that they face, trying to ensure that they have as close to uniform treatment as any other students as they're transferring into and out of school districts from member states. One of the things that I was most excited about when the compact became 50+1, which is all 50 states plus the District of Columbia, is there were a couple of years there when we were advising districts, and it was very challenging because children were only covered under the compact if they came from a member state. So now that all 50+1 members are on board, you don't have to ask anymore what state they're transferring from. You just automatically know that they're going to be covered under the compact if these conditions are met. So first of all, children of active duty member of the uniformed services, including the National Guard and Reserve, if they're on Title 10 orders. So that means active duty. Title 10 typically means that they're called into active duty by the President of the United States. Members or veterans who were medically discharged or retired, their children are covered for a period of 1 year after the discharge or retirement. That's another reason why you might see a slight well, not a slight, but a pretty big discrepancy between the number on the previous slide, that 176,000. Those are all children of veterans, whereas the compact only covers those children for a period of 1 year. The same is true for children of members who died while on active duty. They're covered for a period of 1 year. And just as an explanation, brief explanation of that, as it's been explained to me from our national office, is that they cover them for a period of 1 year as they make those last transitions away from military service. So the idea being that after about a period of a year or so, they should be settled now and will receive same supports that any student would receive. And then lastly, the compact also covers children of the uniformed members of the Commissioned Corps of the National Oceanic and Atmospheric Administration, or NOAA, and the United States Public Health Services. So that was written into the compact. A couple of things to be mindful of as you start thinking about and making suggestions or getting the word out as part of spreading the word about the compact. The compact only applies to students in kindergarten through grade 12 in public schools, and that is true for every state. So I mentioned earlier that our numbers don't have pre-kindergarten students because they are not formally included in the military interstate compact. And likewise, only public school students are covered in the compact. And so all the information on the left should look familiar to you. The information on the right is who is not covered. It does not cover students in post-secondary, for example. It does not cover non-Title X National Guard and Reserve members, and that's actually something we'll talk about a little bit later in the meeting. So non-Title X would be Title 32 or state active duty. They are currently not included in the coverage of the military compact. It also doesn't extend to other Department of Defense personnel, federal agency civilians, contract employees. That is a very frequent question that we will get. If they're a Department of Defense contractor, they want to know if their children are covered in the compact. They're currently not covered. And then any other uniformed personnel other than NOAA and the United States Public Health Services. And like I said, please do not hesitate. At any moment, if you have a question, please feel free to raise your hand in Zoom or to take yourself off mute and ask your questions. Okay, so now I'll give you a quick overview of what's addressed by the compact. And I am by no means the expert on this. We are asking as one of the requirements to serve on the council that you do attend some virtual training from the expert, one of my colleagues over at the national office. So consider this just kind of a taste of the information that you'll get, just a high level. So there are 4 main areas that you should be familiar with that are covered by the Military Interstate Compact. It covers issues related to educational records and enrollment. We'll talk a little bit more about what that means in just a moment. Placement and attendance, student eligibility, and graduation. And then across the bottom of this particular graphic, you'll see state coordination. So the state coordination part is you all. The state council fulfills the duties for state coordination. So you may be at different times in the future asked to weigh in on anything related to these 4 topics. What the compact does not cover that you might not see on here are things like Purple Star Schools. That does not fall under the authority of the compact. That's separate and apart. We will have Dr. Bowser, who oversees that program, give us frequent updates. But in terms of the purview of this council, it doesn't extend to things like the Purple Star Schools and other initiatives and organizations that may be out there. All right, so let's jump into each of these areas, and I'm promising to just give you a high level taste of what they are. So the compact does have provisions in it to help smooth the transition in terms of educational records and enrollment. So it has some provisions in it about the timing with which records must be transmitted from one school district to another. The same thing is true with immunizations, required state immunizations. I think those are 2 big areas that we often get calls and questions about. One of the things that I tell people all the time is Texas state law and rule cover almost all of the same issues that the compact does. So oftentimes, if the compact doesn't address a problem that a military connected family is experiencing, I always tell people, come and talk to us. There's oftentimes already an existing law or rule that will help ease that transition as well. So Texas is a very flexible state in that sense. And then one of the things, though, that Texas state law and rule doesn't address that the compact does is the entrance age requirements for students in kindergarten and 1st grade. So for those of you who may not know, in Texas, you have to be a certain age as of September 1st. Just imagine that in 50 states, it's different in almost every 50 states. Some states share the same date, but not all of them. So as families are moving from one state to another, their child may have been eligible to enter kindergarten in one state, and then they move to another and they find that suddenly their child doesn't meet those entrance age requirements. So one of the greatest benefits, I think, of the compact is that it makes that uniform across all the states. So if a student, it says essentially if a student was eligible for kindergarten in the sending state, they will be eligible under the compact in the receiving state. Texas has actually taken that a step further, and we have applied the same approach to pre-kindergarten. So if a student was eligible for pre-kindergarten in the sending state, and they come to Texas and they might not normally be eligible, they are eligible under the compact. So that's a little bit about the educational records and enrollment. Placement and attendance deals with issues that allow students to enroll in courses similar to those that they were in the sending district. So that's course placement. The same is true for educational programs. So maybe they were in GT or bilingual education in the sending district. It honors their placement until they can be tested in the receiving state. There are some special provisions related to special education services as well. And then placement flexibility is some language that the compact has in it that encourages districts and charter schools to be flexible with their placement of students whenever possible, especially to ease the transition so that it's not so rough and difficult for students. So if, for example, they have certain requirements about attendance or participation in a program, they might want to consider being more flexible in those requirements when you have a military transfer coming in. And then lastly, there's some language in the compact related to absences related to deployment and the number of absences that a student may have. Texas state law already provides for the same, I'm trying to think of the word and it's escaping me, but the number of excused absences that a student can have related to a deployment. Yeah, so that's a little bit about placement and attendance. And as I said, you'll do some training on this where you'll go a little bit deeper. You'll even get to see some case studies that go into different of these examples from the compact. The next one is eligibility. So there is some enrollment eligibility requirements. So students who would be eligible to enroll coming from the sending state to a receiving state. And I know I've been using sending and receiving state, that's terminology. I'm hoping that that's pretty self-explanatory for you all. If not, please, don't hesitate to let me know. The sending state obviously is a state that the student is coming from, and the receiving state is the student that the state in which the student's enrolling in. And then there's also a provision on student eligibility for pre-curricular participation. So currently the compact asks for flexibility in terms of allowing students who are transferring in as a result of a military deployment or transfer to be able to participate. One of the biggest ones that we frequently hear about is they miss the tryout dates. So districts in the compact are encouraged to be as flexible as possible with any timelines for students. There is not an expectation that they be required to allow those students to participate, but that they be given the opportunity to be eligible to try out. And then lastly, and this is the single most common area over which we receive questions, and that's graduation. The compact has provisions that allow states to waive graduation requirements. They also have provisions about how a student may meet state mandated exit exam requirements. And probably the most common of all of these is transfers during senior year. And I believe, Kathy, it might have been you that mentioned that your daughter transferred twice during her senior year. So this is especially important if a student transfers into a state that has different graduation requirements and might not be eligible to meet those graduation requirements on time. And that's the emphasis of the compact, is that students not be delayed in their graduation as a result of a sending state or receiving state's requirements. then the provision allows the student to graduate under the requirements of the sending state. So that's a very common circumstance. I'm sure several of you have probably heard of that or experienced that with students that you know that were in similar circumstances. And then lastly, I mentioned to you state coordination. That is the work of the State Advisory Council. You know, what our responsibility as council members is to help coordinate different ideas, topics, concerns coming from different entities. Obviously, we'll be sharing with you what we're hearing at the state level or even from the district level. Others here in the council will be talking about what they're hearing from active duty members or from teachers. We'll be able to hear from school liaisons and from all sorts of different folks. So that's a little bit of that component, is we're going to be coordinating activities, ideas, concerns from a number of different entities. The other part of state coordination is the State Compact Commissioner. So I mentioned to you, I am the Commissioner designee. So I attend annual meetings with the Military Interstate Children's Compact Commission and essentially take information from the meetings that we'll have or from things that we're hearing, cases that we've dealt with over the preceding year. And I share that information with the national office and at our national meeting. In addition to that, I'm a member of the MIC3 Executive Commission and I'm the chair of the training committee. So I also am willing to share information with those folks with you to the extent that we think it's necessary. We do have ex officios. So if you haven't noticed, if you click on the participants button down at the bottom, you'll see that we have attendees in the meeting. For every meeting, we'll invite all of our school liaisons. They're invited to come and listen to the meeting. Certainly, they're able to request to provide some public comment if they wish to do so. But all of our school liaisons are considered ex officios. And then lastly, and this is going to be an important point at our next meeting, the language of the military compact requires every state council to designate a military family education liaison. Someone from amongst the council who will serve as the military family liaison, somebody who obviously helps handle issues and concerns, raises issues and concerns to the council as well. So we'll talk about that a little bit later on. So you can be thinking about that. All right, I've mentioned a couple of times more training on the compact. So that was just a little sliver of knowledge for you about the compact. But we will have a requirement in place that all of our council members, can you all still hear me? Yes. Yeah. Yes, okay, sorry, I'm getting a message that my speaker's not working. All of the members of the council will be required to complete 2 trainings for the military compact specifically. One is called, well, they're pretty easy to remember, Compact 101 and Compact 201. They are both provided by the national office. So from MIC3, Compact 101 training, we will ask you to complete on your own if you've not already done so. And then Sherry will talk to you a little bit more about that later in the meeting to give you some of that information. And then Compact 201 training, we are inviting a member of the national office to either Zoom in or come to Austin and provide that second layer of training to really make you experts in the compact. So we will, as I said, we'll talk a little bit more about that in just a bit. Any questions over the compact that I can answer for you that you've thought of right now? Okay, then we'll move on to our next agenda item, and that is the role of the State Advisory Council. So I suspect that some of you are wondering, have been wondering since you received your invitation letter, what exactly is it that I'm going to be expected to do? I've mentioned a little bit of it, but you can see here in this quote on this slide a little bit about what the language of the military compact says. So the military compact requires each member state to have a state council or use an existing body or board to coordinate the actions and activities of different state agencies, of the military installations, of local education agencies. So it's one of the acronyms that we'll be using. You'll hear us refer sometimes to LEAs. It's what we mean. It's shorthand for school districts and charter schools. And also to help disseminate information about the military compact and raise issues to the state level. So it could be that you hear frequently about a particular requirement that students are struggling with when they transfer in. There will be opportunities in future meetings where we talk about some of those issues, and you are an advisory council, as you will offer advice to the Commissioner of Education. Or perhaps it might be advice that I need to take back to the national office and talk to the full commission about. So I mentioned that every state is required to have a state council. You also know, however, that it is 2021 and we are just convening a state council. So I just wanted to give you a very brief history about the story behind that. So in 2009, when the legislation first passed, Senate Bill 90, that adopted the military compact for the state of Texas and made it a member, there was language in the law that specified until 2021, when that was revised, that duties of the state council were to be fulfilled by the Texas Education Agency. There was a short period of time in early 2009 and 2010 where the Commissioner of Education at the time actually did convene a council. And I think they met twice maybe until we recognized that that was not in alignment with statute. And from that point on, the responsibilities of the council were carried out by TEA staff. However, there was legislation in the most recent legislative session that took that language out and of course convenes this council. And establishes it as a formal advisory council in the Texas Education Code. So that's just a little bit about the history behind why you might be wondering why the compact says every state has to have a council, but Texas is just getting one in 2022. All right, so what are the duties of the State Advisory Council? So you can see on this slide and on the next slide a little bit about what they are. One of the things that you'll be asked to do from time to time is to just help spread the word about the military compact. I think one of the things that we hear of at the state level is just the sheer number of educators that aren't familiar with it. And then from time to time, we also hear from military families that they weren't aware of it. I know and our school liaisons can tell us all about the information that's provided to families. But I do think it is an issue, especially in school districts and charter schools, especially with such high turnover rates in education. You might have had somebody who is a real expert on the compact and that person left. And, we need to do a better job at the state level of helping to make sure that that information is easily available to everybody so they can know the benefits of the compact for military connected students. Number two, we are going to ask you from time to time to assist us in identifying topics that are of interest that we might want to address or provide more information on. Obviously, we're limited to things that are under the authority of the State Council and of the Texas Education Agency. But it may be that there are things that, especially, those of you who are connected to schools might be hearing of that we can help address, maybe through some better communication or some presentations, things like that. So we want to know of those things that might be of interest to military connected parents and students, as well as topics or issues that might be of interest to personnel at school districts and open enrollment charter schools. So what is it that you're hearing? You're kind of our ears on the ground. What are you hearing? What should the council talk about? What advice do we have that we would want the state to address, or perhaps the national office to address? And that really is number 4, advising the Commissioner of Education related to those topics that you've identified. On the next slide, got a few more. You'll also be, from time to time, it may be the case that we ask the council to weigh in related to a case that we might be working. And so you might periodically hear Dr. Bowser, Sherry, or I talking about cases that we are working related to the compact. That just means that something's been escalated to the state level and we're trying to help resolve it. It has never in the years that I've been working with the military compact required a resolution at that level, but I do understand from my colleagues around the country that from time to time, there are issues that rise up to the level of the State Advisory Council. And then even in addition to that, it's rare, but it does happen that it has to actually go to the MIC3, to the military, the National Commission for them to deal with something in terms of a dispute resolution. That obviously tends to be when a member state might not be following the requirements of the compact, or there's a dispute between two states and it might rise to that level. My goal obviously is to ensure that you see as few of those issues as possible, that we're able to resolve them at the lowest level possible. Duty number 6. This is one that I mentioned briefly earlier. One of the responsibilities of the state council is to appoint or designate a military family education liaison. And the requirements of the person who serves in that position will be to assist military families and the state in facilitating implementation of the compact. It is to a great extent a communication component, talking to parents, helping them know who to contact, things like that. I like to think of it as very similar in nature to what a school liaison might do at the local level. They're just doing it at the state level. One of the things that I will be asking you to think about as a homework assignment is who it should be a member of the council, who you would want to be, who you might want to recommend as a military family education liaison. And I certainly know that I've got some ideas and we can talk about that. That'll be on our agenda for our next meeting. A couple of other duties. We are required by state law to convene at least once each quarter. The compact itself only requires state councils to meet once a year, but Texas has gone over and beyond that and asked for 4 meetings a year. So one of the tasks, as you know, Sherry previewed for you that we're going to be setting the rest of our meetings for the year, hopefully today. We are also, as I mentioned at the top of the meeting, required to abide by the Texas Open Meetings Act. And one of the requirements of that legislation is that all members of a board or a council who are subject to open meetings law must complete a training in that. And so we'll share some information. Sherry will share some information with you later about that requirement. And then lastly, the council has to establish policies and procedures related to its operation. So another topic for a future meeting will be for us to look at some operating rules and make decisions and vote on operating rules. It would be things like, how long do we want to allow public testimony? Is it 2 minutes, 3 minutes, something more than that? What would be the deadline for them to register? So just things about that would just describe the operation of how we work from meeting to meeting and within our meetings. All right, before we move on, I do want to just take a minute to see if there were any questions related to the duties of the council. You can feel free to put them in the chat or just come off mute, whatever you prefer. Great. So I did mention earlier that while this State Advisory Council, your primary focus, in fact, your exclusive focus is on the provisions of the military compact, we will be providing you updates on other topics that the state has or programs that the state has related to military connected students. And so at this point, I'm going to go ahead and hand things over to Dr. Bowser, who's going to talk to you a little bit about his work.
Again, hello, everyone. My name is Shelly Bowser, and I am the Military Connected Student Program Lead here at TEA. So usually anything that has anything to do with military connected students, that's an area where I am and where I tend to function. Many of the things that Shelly was just mentioning are things I do now as far as, I get phone calls from parents if there's an issue with getting a child enrolled, or just questions they may have about, enrolling in certain schools or school districts. And so today I want to talk a little bit about Purple Star, which is our program that the state has to recognize those school districts that go above and beyond for our military connected students and families. And so just a little bit about me. This is my 25th year in experience in education. So I've been a teacher, a campus administrator, district level administrator for about 20 plus years. Again, worked for a year over in Dodea, over in Japan. I was a base commander of schools over in Japan. And then again, my own background in the military is one of the things that makes me love this work and love being able to work with our military connected families all around the state. A couple things I'm going to talk to you today about. Purple Star program, with the authority for that and where that comes from, and then the program requirements. What does it take to become a Purple Star school? And then just a brief few things about the supports that we provide here at TEA for our districts and our campuses. So the military identifier, which Shelly mentioned earlier, was required by federal law back in 2015. States were required to collect and provide and report out information on military connected students as they are grouped in with the highly mobile group of students. That includes also foster care, homeless McKinney-Vento, pregnancy-related services, and among those areas are all in our highly mobile and at-risk students program area here in TEA. Under Texas Education Code 25.006, our LEAs are required to collect that information. There are 6 teams identifiers. I know one of our council members is a registrar, so she knows all about that information. But there are 6 teams indicators that designate students as military connected. And the Purple Star program was adopted back in 2020, and it became effective as of the 2021 school year. And it's we recognize the schools and announce the schools that have been awarded the Purple Star every year. And we did that most recently about 3 or 4 weeks ago, and I'll talk a little bit about that. All right, so the Purple Star campus designation, again, created by the 86th legislature. It recognizes those campuses for demonstrating support and commitment to meeting the unique needs of military connected students and their families. And again, being effective as of the 2021 school year. The first year we had 179 schools that were awarded, 145 schools that were awarded the Purple Star designation. In order to become a Purple Star campus, there's really four main things you have to do. One, there has to be each campus must designate a campus-based military liaison. This is very different from the the military or installation liaison. This must be a staff member who is on the campus that can be a point of contact for military families as they have questions and need to contact someone at the campus. So again, it has to be a campus-based staff member. It can be a principal, counselor, teacher, any member of the campus, but it has to be a campus-based staff member. The campus has to create or work with their district to create a web page for military connected families that's easily accessible, and it carries certain information on it. And Clean ISD, Dr. Kraft, Clean ISD is a great example of providing this information and building one website out that then lists all the names of the campus liaisons on the page as well. So that is allowable. But the campus does need to have that on their webpage, at least the information for their campus-based liaison and their responsibilities. At that point, they can then link out to maybe one district page that houses all that information. Their criteria, they must have a student-led campus transition program. This can be a program that is sponsored by another staff member. It doesn't have to be the military liaison, the campus-based military liaison. It can be another staff member, but when at all possible, they want the transition program to be student-led. So there's certain activities they do, things like tours, or they may offer buddy programs. They often have people find a place to sit during the cafeteria on the first day. We all know, especially I was a high school principal. The first day of school, when the bell rang for the first lunch, that was always the most terrifying moment of the day or of the school year for all kids, because they have to figure out where they're going to sit in the cafeteria. And so these things are there to help the kids ease that transition. So they know where to sit, they know where to go, they know where their locker is, and that they have to do all those things as part of the transition program. Introduce them to very important persons on the campus, like the principal, the registrars, the counselors, school nurse, things like that, but anything that would help them with the transition to the campus. And the last requirement is that they must participate in at least one of 3 initiatives to support military connected students and families. This can include a resolution. They can include a resolution. Usually when I do this presentation, usually there's one, Lake Dallas is a very good one up in North Texas that we usually put into this presentation and show as an example of what a resolution looks like. Northeast ISD has a ton of them that look very good, but those are some exemplars that we do usually show. And once the campus receives the Purple Star designation, it lasts for 2 years. And so the first group of applicants that applied, this was the first year they had to recertify. So if they earned the Purple Star in 2021, then they had to reapply this past school year, 2023, and they were awarded the Purple Star. About 81% of our campuses that were awarded the Purple Star this year were previous designees. And for those who are on this call, or on this council, those who provided support to those Purple Star campuses that have been awarded a Purple Star, I want to say thank you for your support. It certainly couldn't happen without the support of our campus, our school liaisons, our superintendents, in those areas. And Dr. Roper, I'm working with someone on the 2 Lackland schools right now so that we can make sure that they are getting their Purple Star application together. So I've been working with one of your staff members from central office. All right, recently I mentioned earlier,
we've received our designation. Both of our campuses were designated this year.
Okay, good deal. Someone reached out to me about that last week. I said I'll give you all the help we can give you. I mentioned recently we were kind of the flavor of the week here at TEA about 2 or 3 weeks ago. We even had a banner on the agency's main page. That's pretty valuable real estate when you go to tea.gov to see the Purple Star information there. And so we were able to work with our communications department to get that out there. And we also sent that out with to all the superintendents with an embargo of a day until we could announce it. So we sent it to the superintendents a day early. This year, one of the things we did was just as a campus principal, I loved when I got a letter or an award from TEA that had my school's name on it. And so this year we worked on customizing each of the campus award letters. So each campus received their own customized award letter that had their the superintendent's name, and then as you can see there on this example, it has the name of the school that was awarded the Purple Star. So in this example, that's Killeen High School that received the Purple Star designation this year. This past year, we had the largest number of applications we've ever had. We had 179 campuses representing 10 education service centers across 29 school districts and open enrollment charters. The number of applications was up 298% versus last year. Again, 51.4% were recertifications, but the exciting part is when we get the new designees, because that's where we're trying to branch out and grow the program, is through having our new designees. So we had 87 campuses that received the Purple Star for the very first time. Everything was announced on September 22nd, and it can be found on our website. This is what you see there's a screenshot from our Military Connected Student and Family Resources page. And if you go to that page, you see the link there. With the arrow, you'll see the list of this year's designees. Our application for the 23-24 school year will open on April 3rd of 2023 and closes on June 2nd next year. And so we will have several webinars and interest meetings, those kind of things coming up as we get ready for that process. So look for that information coming out from us. Again, just part of our support for providing support to our military connected students and families, we have our, here at TEA, we have our highly mobile and at-risk division that handles these areas for our highly mobile students. We have our webinars, we have different videos, newsletters, all those things can be found on what we call the HMR, or highly mobile and at-risk area of our TEA website. Then we have the Military Connected Student and Family page that's specifically for military connected students and families and veterans. in schools that need support in this area, like I know the military identifier is one that a lot of registrars have questions about, because I get lots of questions from registrars about the military identifier and would someone qualify for, as a military connected student. One of them I got just Friday was someone who was asking about mentioning something that Shelly mentioned earlier. It was a DoD contractor that wanted to know if they were eligible under MIC-3, and the answer was no, they were not. Then the third part is our military impact, the compact, which you guys are part of and we're all part of here. Shelly again is our compact commissioner, and I am the second point contact for MIC-3 here in Texas. And so I'm very excited to be a part of this commission and getting to work with Shelly on MIC-3. And this is just information to get a hold of me if you ever have anything or have any questions or need anything regarding military connected students. There's my email address is there, my phone number. That's the website for military connected families, tea.texas.gov/mil. And then we also have a newsletter that we ask you to sign up for. It's our TEA military newsletter, and that information is there as well. So please stay tuned and look for more information coming up from us to help out with our military connected students and families and supporting our school districts in this area. Thank you for your time.
So thank you, Dr. Bowser. We really appreciate it. At this point, if anybody has any questions over any of the information Dr. Bowser shared, please feel free to speak up. Well, I am really excited by all the connections that we have and the areas where our work crosses over among the council members. So we, as you all may have remember hearing Ms. Dela Cruz mentioned that she's a registrar, so I suspect she's familiar with some of these components. Ms. Webster, I suspect your district may have some purple schools, perhaps. I should have checked the list before the meeting. But we're very excited and we're really eager to try and explore those connections more in future meetings. The one thing I do want to make sure to emphasize, and I'm going to ask for your forgiveness in advance if I will sound like a broken record, it's just really important that we all remember that the Purple Schools program is not a part of the Military Interstate Compact. We are more than happy to put that as an agenda item if you all have questions or would like updates, but just remember that your advisory opportunities don't extend to the Purple School program. Obviously, you might, slip a few things in there for Dr. Bowser to consider, but because they're not officially it's not officially part of the compact. It's more informational for our purposes as a council. All right, I'm going to go ahead and hand things over to Sherry, who has the very exciting opportunity to talk to you about the State Open Meetings Act.
So this council is subject to the Open Meetings Act. And what that means is that we all need to be aware what that is and what those kind of boundaries we exist within regarding open meetings are. And so we need you to attend a training. It's an hour-long virtual training. There's a QR code right here that you can scan to go directly to the website where that training is. It's available on the Office of Attorney General website. The website's also there. And this is where it takes you. That's the website. And then the training is just right there on that screen. It's super simple. When you are done, you'll have the opportunity to type your name into a certificate and then save that. And if you will send that to me via email, then we'll have record that you have attended the training. And that's really all that's required there. And then we will be posting all of these meetings in the time frame that's required. And so this past meeting was posted on October 7th, and it gives all the information, the webinar information, the room information if anyone wanted to attend in person, how to make a public comment if someone from the public wants to speak. And then it also, the notice gives the agenda, because public comment needs to be something that is on the agenda. And so I've already gotten two really super speedy people have sent their certificates in. Thank you very much. And so I'll look forward to getting everybody else's. Any questions about this training? All right.
All right, so we're winding down. We just have one last topic left to address, and that is upcoming events. So on this next slide, I wanted to share with you some important information related to an upcoming event that starts tomorrow, and that is the annual business meeting for the Military Interstate Children's Compact Commission, or MIG-3. So every year they host a multi-day meeting, and commissioners from all the 50+1 states are required to attend or send a designee. And it's the opportunity really of the commission to do its mandated work. And so a few things that I thought would be helpful for you all to be aware of, just because of the work that you do in your regular life supporting military personnel and military students or military connected students. A few of the agenda items that I thought would be of interest to this council. So one is the commission is going to consider some proposed rule changes. I think probably the most significant of those rule changes actually relates to some language related to the extracurricular component. I mentioned to you earlier that there's some language in the compact itself that requires districts to be flexible in their approach to communicating about things like tryouts and things like that for extracurricular activities. So the commission is considering strengthening that communication. And it's really the result of a couple of cases that have risen to the national level where districts have maybe not really been in line with the spirit of the compact to ease transition for students. So unfortunately, sometimes it seems like some of the cases that we see at the national level are not really easing the transition. Sometimes they're making it a little bit more challenging. So the commission is considering a rule change to that. But in general, the rule changes this year are largely a result because the rules committee has done a very thorough review of all of the commission's rules, and a lot of them are just technical changes, and I think will be very simple and not controversial at all. But I think there may be some discussion about some of the proposed changes that the commission will be asked to review and approve. The second item that I wanted to point out to you, because you may be hearing about it in the next year as you serve on this council, is that it's been pointed out to the National Commission that there is, for lack of a better word, a typo in the compact itself. And it's a typo that is related to some language where it identifies the National Guard and Reserves. And it is a citation to US code. So the federal law, it says, it's really a one-word mistake. It references chapters, and the word should actually be sections. And so everybody's very concerned that it essentially, if it was ever challenged, it would lead to children of members of the National Guard and Reserves not being covered at all under the compact, because it's the difference of one word. It can make all the difference. So the commission is going to have a conversation about the need to correct that citation. Because this is a national compact, all member states have to agree to the change in order for it to be binding. And so they're going to talk a little bit to the commission about what steps, what options there are for correcting that citation error. And then the last one, and potentially, at least in past meetings, the most controversial of the items, and I wanted to make sure to point this out to you all, is for the last several years, there's been an ongoing conversation at the National Commission level about potentially expanding the coverage of the military compact. You might recall earlier, I said it currently only covers National Guard and Reserve members who are on Title 10 orders. And that essentially means that they've been called to duty by the President of the United States. They are considering whether or not it's necessary to expand coverage to children of members who are on Title 32 orders or who are serving on state active duty. And so there's been a lot of conversation, I said, for multiple years. This has been an ongoing issue that the commission has been researching. They pulled together a task force to look into it. It was on the agenda last year and was postponed because I think there were just some concerns that were raised from various states about the information available to them to make a good decision on this. So it is once again on the commission's agenda for this week. And I see Heather had I think it was Heather that had a question in the chat about whether or not we will brief you all following the meeting. I certainly plan to. Both Dr. Bowser and myself are going to be in attendance at the meeting, and we'll be happy to send you a summary. We can send you a very brief summary via email if you'd like, but we'll certainly have this. We'll plan to have this as an agenda item at our next meeting. All right. I'm calling this an upcoming event because we have some dates to share with you about Compact 101 training. So Sherry, I will let you take it from here.
Yes, so this is another training that Shelly mentioned earlier that we'll need you to complete. And it is on the MIC3 website. I will send out after this meeting a follow-up with links to the different things we've asked you to do. So that'll include this. But you have different dates, but they are specific dates. It's not a recording, it's an actual person live. And so these are your opportunities that we know of so far. So I will send information so that you can register for one of these. And probably the sooner, the better, so that you can get all the information.
Sherry, do you know what time the trainings will be?
Good question. I don't, but we can get that in the next couple minutes. Manuel, maybe you could look that up for us, and we'll tell you in just a couple minutes. And then I'll include that in my follow-up information to you as well.
I will say for those of you who may have completed the Compact 101 training, it's offered by our national office, and it's offered every month. If you happen to have already completed it, just let us know the date that you completed it, and then you will have met that requirement. I believe it is just an hour. Is it just an hour, Dr. Bowser? Yes, just an hour long. And we'll get those dates. We'll put them in the chat in or the times rather. Dr. Kraft will put that in the chat when we have a moment.
No problem. Thank you.
Okay, so this is going to be probably the trickiest piece of all of this, is trying to come up with the next 3 meetings. So there's some things to think about here. The second quarter meeting will be December, January, or February. And then the third quarter, March, April, May, fourth quarter, June, July, August. We want to go ahead and get those on your calendars. And so I have a chart here of dates we should probably omit. These are not all the dates to omit, but these are holidays, State Board of Education meeting dates, and some other things to think about, like spring break. We might also think about end of school, beginning of school, if those are just not good times to meet. But this is kind of a start. I can throw out a couple dates and we can just start working through them. Some things I would like to know, there are certain days of the week we should avoid. Like we should avoid Fridays, maybe, I don't know. If you have certain things you want to avoid, let us know. If 1 to 3 is a good time, then we can stick with 1 to 3. If mornings are better, I just need to start hearing from you guys on what works best for you. And hopefully we can try to accommodate everyone. So feel free to unmute and just throw some things out there, and we'll try to collect all the information and narrow down some dates. I am happy to throw one out, January 23rd or February 13th. If anyone, we kind of had a little internal discussion about whether February the 14th should be taken off the table. I don't know how y'all feel about Valentine's Day.
January 23rd would work.
Okay, I've got a yes for January 23rd. Anyone else?
Yes, for the 23rd.
Okay, I see Dr.
Same.
Roper with a thumbs up.
I can do the 23rd as well.
Also, the 23rd would be good.
23rd works for
23rd
me.
works for me.
Will these be at 1 o'clock as well?
What do y'all think? Do you like 1 o'clock?
Mhm.
Okay, everyone's had time to eat and all right. So it sounds like 1 o'clock's a good time. We could stick with the 1 to 3 time frame. And so far it looks like Q2 could be January 23rd.
Okay.
We'll tentatively pencil that in right now. If anyone decides maybe that's not going to work, let me know.
Sherry, we received a comment in the chat suggesting that we avoid Fridays. Colonel Moore's asking us to avoid Fridays.
Okay. I thought.
And it sounds like I heard some agreement to that. So
Yeah.
good suggestion.
Okay, so no Fridays. So the 23rd is a Monday. Okay. So let's move on. If we're kind of in agreement about that, I'll throw out April 24th or May 1st. I think all the ones I'm throwing out are Mondays. Does not have to be Monday.
Sounds good for me.
Did you, Dr. Roper, did you say the 24th? Okay.
It works.
I can do May 1st. I can't do the 24th. I will be on maternity leave, but I can always have a coworker step in if that's a date that works for everybody else.
Yes, and that's an excellent point. The statute related to the state council does allow you as a member to designate someone to fill in for you if you're not able to attend a meeting. For example, Ms. Gaitan just said she's not available. She'll have a designee. Today we have a designee from Capt McLean. So if that works better for you, you can let us know that as well.
So anyone, Dr. Roper, how do you feel about May 1st? And Sydney, congratulations.
Thank
That's a
you.
good excuse for being out.
My boss may not think that, but right in the middle of session, great timing.
Early May is not good for me just because of AP and STAR testing. But
Yes.
I can possibly get a designee, but more than likely the other counselors are going to be busy too.
Okay, I heard several on that, so let's go back to April 24th, unless there's some other day people want to suggest.
I'm good with the 24th.
The 24 will work.
Okay.
Yes.
Okay. We're going to shoot for April 24th there. And then my last suggestion would be July 31st or August 7th. And it doesn't have to be those. I'm just throwing something out to see if something sticks.
I don't know, but I think El Paso start early. July will work for me. August, we start that early week and it's crazy in enrollment.
Okay, yeah. So July 31st, anyone else?
I think someone is at El Paso. I think they start that week too. Usually they start the last 2 weeks of July.
Yeah, I think anything at the beginning of August is probably going to be a conflict for a lot of people because we're doing registration and teachers are coming back. So I prefer the 31st on my end.
Okay, is the 31st sorry, I was getting my own feedback. Is the 31st too late? Is that too close to August?
If it's mid-July, that will be great. I don't know if everybody's back after the summer break, which is usually a month.
July 17th.
That
That
will
would
work
be
for me.
even better.
July
Yeah,
17th.
that sounds like a better date.
Okay. Okay, so here's what we have so far. We have January 23rd, April 24th, and July 17th. Those are all Mondays from 1 to 3 o'clock. And if that sounds okay, then those are the dates we'll go ahead and work with.
All right. Thank you, everybody. That was much smoother than we were prepared for. So appreciate that. That saves us some time. We will be sending out Outlook invitations to get these on your calendar. And as I said, you are entitled to name a designee. So if for some reason you're not able to join, please just make sure and communicate to us. Let Sherry know who your designee is so we know who to get the information to for the meeting. One of the things that we will also be doing between this meeting and next meeting is sending you an official request for suggestions for agenda items. We will do the best we can to help you build an agenda based on topics that we know, maybe it's training or issues that have come up, a debrief on the annual business meeting, things like that. But certainly if there are topics that you wish the council to address, please feel free to send Sherry an email with that request and we will build an agenda. We'll get that to you for your consideration and then we'll include that for the next meeting. And we'll do that well in advance. We'll probably do that the first week of January so that we can make sure we can get it posted in the Texas Register. All right, I'm going to go ahead and it's not officially on our agenda, but I do want to just take a last minute to see if there are questions or comments that anybody has that they'd like to address with the rest of the group.
I have a question. How long is there a term for these appointments? Is it for 1 year? Is it for 2 years? Or is it forever or?
That's an excellent question, Dr. Roper. So one of the things that we will have on the agenda for the next meeting is your operating procedures. So this council actually will make that decision. We'll probably put something out there for you to consider. Another council that TEA runs has a 2-year term, but that's something that everybody will be allowed to weigh in on at your next meeting. Do you have a recommendation that you would like us to start off with?
2 probably sounds, makes sense to me.
Seems reasonable. Yeah, that was what we were leaning towards. So maybe we'll just do that, but certainly not forever, unless you really have the desire to stay.
Well, you only got 5 years and I'm gone, so.
Okay. Other questions or comments? All right. Well, I just want to thank you all so much for a successful meeting. Can't tell you how excited we are that we have finally had our first meeting of the State Council, and we're looking forward to many successful meetings with you all. So we thank you for your time and attention, and we will see you on January 23rd. But we'll be in touch with you via email between now and then.
Thank you. Have a wonderful
Thank you.
meeting in Louisiana.
Thank you
very much.
Thank you.
Thanks,
Bye.
everyone.